I don't really know if I can do this while I'm holding the camera, but I'm going to have a go. This is Indian quality control, I guess. Yesterday I tried fitting this dipstick adapter to the crankcase of this engine, which had previously been modified to have some sort of breather contraption on it that looked like a Saturn V rocket, or more like a rocket out of a Wallace and Gromit animation actually, and the owner quite rightly wanted the ugly mess removing and for me to put everything back to normal, so I did. And what I removed was a big fat long filler neck with a huge cap on it and a great big pipe coming out of it going to a canister, big metal canister that lived there. So I got all that off, and the owner supplied me with all the parts, everything, except this. So I ordered one myself and fitted it. I screwed it in. I even put the thread locking compound on the threads. Went to screw the dipstick in and the dipstick wouldn't screw in. Now I'm just going to put the camera on its back a moment and I'll try and demonstrate this. Hopefully you'll see it here. So this is the one that came the other day, and this dipstick was among the parts that the owner brought with him for me to fit. Now the dipstick screws in about that far and comes to a stop. So I thought, well, that's no good. I'm going to have to get another dipstick and possibly another adapter and just get a pair that are known to screw together, and then I'll be able to finally fit the dipstick to the engine. So what arrived was this dipstick and this adapter, and as you can see, the dipstick will screw right into that nicely, no problem at all. The only problem is the bit that the dipstick screws into won't screw into the engine. It literally goes perhaps half a turn, if that, and comes to a stop, whereas the one that the dipstick will not screw into, bear with me a moment, does actually screw all the way into the engine, believe it or not. Let's see if I can get it there. I'll just swap hands. Here we go. So I can basically have this one, which screws right into the crankcase nicely, but unfortunately won't allow me to screw the dipstick in. Here we go, that's all the way home. Okay, that's what I did the other day. I had that screwed in and thread locking compound on it already, and then I got nobbled by this one. I'll just put the camera down again a moment. You see the dipstick screwed all the way into that one. I'll try putting it in here, and it goes a turn and a half and comes to a stop. So because of that, I ordered this one, which the dipstick screws into, but unfortunately this won't screw into the engine. Now that's the sort of difference between something like this, made in India, and stuff perhaps made in China, and stuff that used to be made in Britain. Now this being made in Britain, and we were, I don't know, let's say 40, 50 years ago, and I'd ordered the parts there for that, they would have fitted perfectly and screwed in perfectly, and we'd be back on the road again. But as it is, it looks like I've got more hurdles to clear and obstacles to overcome before I can say that this bike is finished. Everything else is done. I've half rebuilt the gearbox to fit a kickstart pole and done all the other jobs to it. I can't go up the road and try it out though until this is sorted, and that really is not good at all. That is what, as they said in the Father Ted, shoddy workmanship. Well, here we are, finally, after quite a bit of work with a thread file with the adapter collar there held in a chuck of the lathe, and turning it by hand and running the thread file on it, and then cleaning the threads down with emery cloth afterwards, I finally, after a few attempts, got this where it would screw in. Not exactly easily. I use these actually to sort of get it the last halfway in, but at least it's gone all the way in, and I've got thread locking compound on it where it screws into the crankcase, so it's actually fitted for good now. And we've got a dipstick there that we can screw in and out, so that's actually progress. But they were parts that were supposed to fit straight out of the box and they just didn't. But at last we've got something resembling some sense, and I may even be able to run this engine now and hopefully check that it's all okay. So progress at last. I've just been having a look at why I had that oiliness around the back end after fitting the factory type breather, which is what the owner wanted me to do. And I've been running the engine with the lid off the breather pot and watching for oil coming out, and most of the oil was coming from this pipe that's supposedly meant to be the return pipe to the timing case from the breather, and oil was absolutely cascading up through that pipe. So I've looked into it a little bit further. I even disconnected that pipe from the pot and plugged it and started the engine up with just this breather pipe, the main official breather pipe if you like, going to the pot. And the oil that came up there in no time at all, well, it made a hell of a mess. I've got all that stuff down trying to soak it up, and I've just been investigating and I can't believe what I found here. Now, that thing that looked like a Saturn V rocket was screwed down to this, and any oil caught in it was supposedly meant to run back down through that attachment there, which doesn't look quite like the factory outlet for the breather pipe, but nevertheless this breather pipe fastened onto it, so I connected it there, and I've been having trouble with oil coming out the breather. Look at this. This goes right down into the oil tank, well below the level of the oil, so any pressure that's trying to get out, breathe out through there, is creating pressure on top of the oil and forcing it up through this, what you might as well call standpipe. So it's no wonder that oil was getting everywhere and making a mess. So I'm going to cut that off, and I'll just have this screwed into the top of the crankcase and then put the rubber pipe on there, and I'm pretty sure that it'll breathe in a normal manner then and not make this hideous mess that it's been making of itself. But who in their right minds comes up with things like that when it's a breather? And you've got about, I would say, when the oil level's up to the full mark, you're probably going to have 2 or maybe 3 inches of that tube submerged in oil. So the oil is just going to blow out of there straight away. The mind boggles, it really does, but at least I found a reason and I'm going to sort it out right now.